There's people waiting. There we are. Welcome. Right, let's get on. Natalie, I'm assuming you're with us, even though I can't see your face. Nice to see your beautiful picture there. When you get lovely, when you get round to it, it would be nice to talk with you face to face, because we're going to just be workshopping in a minute. Right. Can you see a portion of my screen, which is not very useful? Wait a minute. Right, let me see what happens. I don't want to do it like that. Sorry. Usually this does exactly what it's meant to do. Today it's not doing what it's meant to do. Right. Share screen. Okay. Right, can you see my screen with the slide that just says my name and my marketing strategist?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we're winning. Okay, so as promised, what we're going to do today is generate basically a very clear and concise headline, which on LinkedIn is your kind of the first impression you get to make, as we know. So by the end of it, you'll have got a beautifully written one, which gives you clarity, I suppose, around how to describe what you do and to whom, with the intention always being that the person reading it should feel, oh, she's talking to me. So what we're going to do is, as I said, we're going to make sure that you can, it's not just for this headline, the purpose of doing this exercise, it's also because sometimes when people ask, so what do you do? Then you end up with this conversation in your head about, oh, executive search, but I'm not sure people know what that is or people like it. So it's about that. It's about finding the eloquent short form words to describe what you're doing. It's also, if you're changing niches, or in your case, Leanne, changing where you're delivering, even though not necessarily changing what you're delivering. Also, if you have a niche and want to switch it, or if you sometimes go to a networking event or have to answer the question, what do you do, and wish you were somewhat more fluent with it. So we're going to get to the nub of all that. We're going to get to the nub of who your audience is, who are your kind of A1 people, how do you speak to them with the language that they will resonate with, and how to describe your offer, your value in such a way that makes sense for them and that you don't have to stumble over it anymore. So just briefly, who am I? I'm Bonnie Williams. I am a marketing strategist. I've been doing marketing my whole career. And I usually facilitate mastermind groups. So I work with small groups of business leaders, enabling them to create and implement marketing strategies. Just to kind of give you a bit of a context, really. I basically became the marketing strategist after I was made redundant from my last role where I was employed. And over the years, I felt I'd kind of fallen out of love with marketing a little bit, because it was a little bit about making more corporations more money, and that just didn't feel right for me anymore. And I've worked a lot with people, with small businesses who, when I've done consulting work with them, have found that they would make a really great plan, but then not very well carry it out. So they didn't either have the confidence or the ability to overcome the vulnerability of doing marketing and being visible. So I retrained as a coach, and now I bring coaching skills to marketing, and hopefully that combination unlocks the gold that people were finding really challenging. So I also have a deep passion for caring for our planet, and I suppose what I've realized over these last few years is that I can combine both. So I tend to work with environmentally conscious business owners, and I enable them to reach more people. So through my work in marketing, I enable people doing stuff that, you know, I really support to do that better. So my mission is to make a difference to the future of our planet by supporting socially conscious businesses with my professional skill set. So my LinkedIn headline is saving time and money for environmentally conscious business leaders with strategic marketing plans that convert. Expert marketing strategist, facilitator of strategic marketing mastermind, 6-month mastermind group. So you can see there that it's very clearly got what I do and for whom and how. So that's what we're aiming for with our LinkedIn headline. I'm going to come back to that and we'll take it to pieces in a bit. So why is your headline important? The first thing is that almost any search anywhere on the internet, if you're looking for somebody by name, will return their LinkedIn result, usually in the top 3 results. So unless they're all over the press, in which case they'll get, you know, press mentions first. If you look up yourself later, try Googling yourself and see how much of your LinkedIn headline is visible, and understand how that affects your own visibility in the online space. So it will affect the content and also the order of the words that we choose for our LinkedIn headline, because that bit is the bit that shows first. It's important to choose the order very strategically. I mean, you all know this because you're here about LinkedIn, but it is an excellent professional platform. And I looked it up this morning. Apparently, they've got over 830 million users per month, which is just through the roof. So more or less, whatever your job, your people will be there. So your job is to make sure that your headline stands out and makes a very clear description of who you are and what you do and for whom. Okay, so 3 things that make a LinkedIn headline scroll pastable. So the first thing really is if you were just to use your job title at your company name. Now, there's lots of reasons why that doesn't work, but number 1 reason I think is really just that it's not gripping enough. It has to speak to somebody, and a job title at a company name doesn't speak to anyone. It just reports almost about who you are and where you work, which is not the same as what you can offer them. So then this is the next part that kind of feeds in really, that a LinkedIn headline that just describes what you do and not what you deliver will not make it magnetic to your ideal client. Also, one of the key mistakes is that it tends to leave out one of the key elements, that either what you deliver or to whom or how you deliver it. So those 3 are all really critical. And if one is missing, people won't get the full picture, if you like, about what you can bring for them and or help them with. And the final one is just, if you happen to be in sales or business development or an account manager, if you put those in your headline, they're likely to repel your prospects, simply because nobody likes the idea that they're going to be sold to. So if you are in one of those job titles, it's almost worth your reverse engineering it back to going back to what we described before, what you can offer and to whom. Hi, Natalie, lovely to see you. Okay, so now we're going to get working. So I like to write by hand for this, but if you prefer to type, then do. And I'm going to just go through stuff and I want you to work as we go through. Okay, so we're going to spend time on this slide. So the very first thing we're looking at is, who is your ideal client? Denise, are you there? Would you be prepared to put your camera on? It's just nice for us to see who we're with. No problem if not. If you're busy, that's fine. Okay, so who is your ideal client? So I want you to write the answers to these questions. And if you're not sure, what I want you to do is to pick someone, if you like, who's been your favorite client to work with. And that is to say, they're the favorite kind of client that you want to do more work with. So if the person you're currently working with, or the niche you're currently working with, is not who you want it to be, imagine a client who is in the niche that you want to be, and ask yourself these questions about them. If you come to a question and go, that's completely irrelevant, then don't worry about it, just skip past it. So the main thing is to just kind of we're always creating an avatar, if you like. Say, what's their name? What gender are they? How do they address you? So some of the answers to these questions you'll be able to use in a much broader context than just this. But to get the answer to your headline, we need to go back to basics for this. So this is all about copy style. So for example, how they address you. If you're working with somebody, like a lot of my clients work quite closely with me, and we do tend to talk to each other like, hi, lovely, how are you doing? It's just what we do. So I would probably put in there, how do they address you? Lovely, or Bonnie, or babe. You know, that's just how we tend to talk to one another. And I do mostly work with women. How do they address their friends? Probably similarly, actually, because in terms of that relationship, that tends to be how we work. How old are they? And where do they live? Some of these things are going to give you an ability to write posts which resonate, right? So if you understand their home environment, you understand, for example, that they're a busy mother with children at home, you're going to be able to speak to that much better if you're clear about it. How much are they earning? How much are they working? Whether they're married or single? Have they got children? What is the most important thing in their life? This is a really interesting one. So Leanne, right, where you're doing executive search, although you're dealing with people's work, probably still a lot of them would say the most important thing in their life is their family. And it's about recognizing the balance between work and family. Yeah. The most important people in their life. What do they like to do in their spare time? What do they actually do in their spare time? So whilst they might love to be making pottery, what they may actually be doing is dealing with the fact that their child needs this or that thing printing out for school, dealing with the fact that somebody's grown out of their shoes or melted them last week on the campfire, whatever the random things are that end up soaking up their spare time, whether in fact they're at the top of their own list of priorities or whether they get put to the bottom. And then anything specific that makes them come to life in your mind. Okay, so let's share for a minute. Has anybody got a real kind of clear idea of who their ideal client is and they'd be willing to talk it through just quickly so we've got an example to work with? You're not in my middle.
Why not?
Lovely. Thank you, Natalie. Let's hear it then. What have you got?
Well, knowing that some of the questions I'm not always really keen of answering them, and I'm not sure of the impact that can be interesting. So my clients, when you say what are they called, does it refer to their job title or
probably just their name? So if you had a sort of typical, like for my clients, I might say Claire. Let's
give a name to the other tab. Okay,
Claire. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, then I haven't necessarily one, but I work with my ideal client is a woman. She's somewhere in between her 35 and 55 or more, and she is a manager or a senior manager or executive in the corporate world, and she wants to stand up as a leader. She wants to play a bigger game, take her space, and dare to have more impact.
Amazing.
So it's true that, honestly, if I may, I don't see the impact of what type of house, what sort of home, what do they wear.
That's fine.
But maybe there is, I don't know.
No, not necessarily. I mean, the questions are really there as a starting point to get you thinking. But for example, if you worked in real estate, those choices would be really, really relevant, right? But it just so happens that your profession doesn't necessarily make those details as relevant as another profession. But that's really brilliant. So I feel like we've got a sense of who she is now.
Okay.
She's a senior manager looking to be more visible as a leader. And she's, you've got the age bracket there. You've very clearly got a description. You've probably also got some kind of a short list of job description, job titles, for example, which would be useful for you in another context on LinkedIn. You can do searches, that kind of thing. So that would be really great.
Yeah, what she wants is to have a meaningful, fulfilling life without compromising on what's important for her, without sacrificing on the other parts of her life.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so you've got some ideas already of the behaviors and that kind of thing that's going on. So that's what we're going to move on to now. Thanks for sharing, Natalie. Okay, so now if we move on to what's the problem that they're facing, or the challenge, if you like. So now I want you to describe the main issue or the challenge that your ideal client or your A1 audience is facing. So why does this bother them and make them unhappy? So Anne and Denise, you've just making sure you're writing these answers as we go. And then what is it they most fear in relation to this challenge? So for example, I work with some fertility experts, and for those ladies, their main fear is that they may never become a mother, right? This is the stuff that's keeping them up at night. So their challenge is fertility, and they really worry about and feel fearful of that. Whereas if I look at my clients, for example, if I'm working with business leaders who are struggling with their marketing, the worst thing that could go wrong is that their marketing just doesn't work to the extent that their business can't keep going, right? So the ultimate fear for those clients is going to be, I'm going to go bust. Or Leanne, I don't know what your client's main fear might be, but it might be in relation to feeling never reaching their potential, never reaching their purpose. So if they never fit in the right role, it might be around that. What's your sense of that?
Well, my client is
Quite right. Your client is not them.
Is not. I mean, I do work with candidates, definitely. Yeah. But more, I'm trying to provide value to my client who is hiring that person that they need in their organization. So what is the problem or issue that they face is that they have a role, a very important leadership role that is vacant, and the longer that particular role stays vacant, there are potential ROI situations that happen within the organization, productivity, just from a team perspective, might go down. That could also cause, emotional things to, happen within the team. That there is demotivation somehow, because perhaps there was a leader that was really, fantastic, and everybody loved that person, and they went off and, joined a different company.
Yeah, exactly. That can shake a whole team, can't it?
Demotivating for a team. And so there's all of these things.
Brilliant. Yeah. So what would they like you to do if you could really do anything? What would be the thing they'd be like, Leanne, please solve this? What would they love that to be?
Well, yeah, they would love me to find somebody that is going to be right for the culture of the corporation within their budget. And who fits the needs of the organization, because one of the things that we understand very clearly in these days, that just because you did a really great job in this job doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to do a really great job in that job.
Right. So your job there is to make
my job is
safe,
to make sure that whatever the corporation needs is well understood by the organization, as well as the candidates that are being searched for with regards to your opportunity.
Brilliant. Okay, so then let's go through, like, if they're currently doing anything, are they, or possibly could they be doing anything that either makes things worse or doesn't improve the problem?
So what would my client potentially do worse is that well, there are just some practices that don't happen so much in some organizations. I mean, being in this line of work for nearly 20 years now, I can say that companies do not train or provide any kind of training on how to do. I'm not saying all companies, but there is a good majority of companies that don't provide any kind of training on how to conduct a good interview. And good is very subjective. So, how to make sure that you have a successful interview every single time.
That's brilliant, right? So that's real insight for them. And then just looking at the other thing, this question is interesting. So if you consider the emotional, but also the kind of soul level or financial or any other benefits, kind of like the side effects that come from improving this one key issue. So, you know, Natalie, for example, the side effects of becoming more visible as a leader in your professional context is possibly you're going to end up being approached by Leanne, right? Because you may well get a new job offer, you may earn more money, and that might improve things at home. You might find that things are easier when you bring more money in, or you might find, you know, an easier relationship with your partner if the financial pressure is eased. So there's a lot of bonuses, kind of like side effects, if you like, that can happen as a result of you doing what you really do brilliantly. Okay, so then once you've got that clear picture, then let's move on to the next one, which is about your best solution or the best outcome that you can offer. So now you know who they are and you know what their problem is. Then you're going to answer these questions, which is, what is the main issue or the challenge, if you like, that they're facing? So what's a challenge to your client and why it bothers them? This is a bit of, some of these questions I've just spotted are very similar to the previous one. So I think that slide just got in there by accident. Sorry, hang on. So this is the next bit. Yeah, so what are you offering? So what makes you the perfect person? And this stuff is harder sometimes to draw out because we're used to talking all about our client. But this is actually the critical bit for your headline, is about making what makes you the perfect person to help them. So I just want you to list down now your qualifications, your experience, how many times you've done this maybe. That might take a bit of working out. Maybe you've got membership of an important professional body. Maybe you're affiliated with an important organization in the field that you're working in. And what makes you different or unique from others who do a similar thing? And then this one, exactly what is your personal area of expertise? If you were, let's say, in the zone, doing the thing you're most brilliant at and most enjoy, what is that thing? And then ask yourself also, have you ever faced a version of this problem for yourself? Were you ever in the situation where you needed the perfect person in your business and didn't have them? Or were you ever in a situation where you wanted to step up as a leader in your work? Where you want to be more visible? If you can describe this short story or your version of this story in as few words as possible, it can be really powerful. So if you don't personally have a version of this problem, the other thing to do is to think of a story of someone who has walked the path before them. So if this is like, for example, if you are a fertility support practitioner, just for argument's sake, going back to the example I was using before. So if you're working as an acupuncturist and you have a fertility support practice, but you can happen to conceive naturally with no trouble, then you're not necessarily going to be the best person to relate to your client's struggles. But if you can think of a story, a quick to relate story, it can be really powerful just to have that there. You can even tell this story in one of your, one of your posts or that kind of thing on LinkedIn. So this is about establishing yourself in the role of being an expert, okay? And understanding and noticing which details about yourself make you uniquely placed to solve this problem with your ideal client, okay? And then we're going to move on to putting them together in a short statement. So here's a bunch of formulas, okay? So just to clarify for yourself, go back and look at what you've written and underline or circle or something your favorite description of your audience. So for example, Natalie, for you, we might be saying female senior executives who want to become more visible as leaders, right? So you might choose that to be your A1 audience. And so there are different formats. So if you have a look at these different formats, you can see how you can use them. So what we're going to do is we're just going to slot in some details for these formats, and then we're going to find our favorite ones and craft that into our short form headline, okay? Because some of these work better for some businesses than others. So for example, I'll just work through with my business and you can see what I mean. So I'll say, you know how environmentally conscious business owners sometimes struggle to use their marketing effectively. Well, what I do is I help them to overcome their ad hoc reactive marketing. And that gives them a strategic marketing plan that actually converts, leaving them free to focus on what they really love to do. So what you can see there is like, I can just slot in the answers into this format. Or I could say, I work with environmentally conscious business owners who are struggling to create effective marketing, and I help them to make a strategic marketing plan in order to achieve stability in their profit and loss. Or a really short form, you know, I help my audience who want this solution. So if you're going really, really, you know, really, really short, Leanne, we might go, I help, so your audience in this case is your client that you're sorry, the person that the organization you're working with.
It could be a C-suite, it could be a board of directors.
Okay, so I help directors who want to find the perfect candidate for an important role. Yeah, so it could be just as short as that. Or if you don't like the verbs I help, you can also just go with a sort of like an infinitive. So I think
well, I mean, I don't like I help.
That's fine.
I provide.
Okay, great. Exactly. So the verbs don't really matter. I help, or I work with, or I provide, or sometimes I don't even put the subject of the sentence in there. So I think, you know, sometimes you see you know, something like matching great candidates with great roles, or, you know, for a recruitment business, or you sometimes see coaches talking about, you know, drawing out your brilliance. So they would just start with an ing ending on a verb at the start of their headline. So they don't even bother to put that I do this. Yeah, so you can change the format and the structure for these into whatever way works. And it's about which you feel is in the more compelling part of what you've talked about. So whether you're specifically relating to a particular pain point or a struggle or a problem, or whether in your case, Natalie, you're trying to draw them forward towards being visible and seen and respected and seen as an expert in their field. It's where there's no right or wrong on this front particularly. You can choose the ones that feel better for you. So when you look at these, Natalie, are there any of these formats that feel they work for you?
Yes, indeed. They can work with. In fact, the first one I've been using it already. I like it in networking events. Mm-hmm. You know how women in management roles tend to hold back instead of speaking their true voice. Well, what I do is inspire and support them to design, in fact, to uncover their personal brand that gives them the possibility to align their leadership style to who they truly are.
Yay, I love that.
That's around the lines. It's never exactly the same, but that's part of what I'm.
Yeah, and I think one of those things is that it takes practice to embody a new headline. I remember when I first when I was quite young, I had quite a senior job, and it took quite a while for me to be able to embody that, because I became the principal of a college, but I was only quite young. And I remember people sort of asking me this question all those years ago, so what do you do? And I remember I had to really practice to say, you know, I'm the principal of Europe's biggest independent college of Chinese medicine. I mean, I can say it now, but back then I was like, oh, it feels so big. But then once you try a bit, it kind of comes good.
Yeah. But like Leanne, I don't like the word I help, so I will say it can be either I support or I accompany, or I also inspire and motivate or guide. I like to use guide. I guide.
Guide is a lovely verb, isn't it? It's about, it just really kind of implies that sort of walking alongside, but at the same time with knowledge of what the path might hold.
Or I partner with them. I partner with them to help them uncover. Well, there have I helped. No, how do I say it? Well, anyways.
Yeah, it's lovely. Leanne, how have you got on? Have you got any that feel like they suit?
I feel like I need to massage it a little bit. We have a tagline about reliable leadership advice, because we have an assessment tool that we use. And so I would say something very simple, like I provide reliable leadership advice. And then from there, I might talk a little bit about the assessment tool. But I think that might just be too much information, just to by saying that I provide reliable leadership advice. You know, hopefully that would give a feeling of, okay, she knows what she's doing, and then I can go into more detail about, you know, how I support their business via my knowledge and understanding, as well as the tool that we use throughout the interview process, well, the search, selection, and interview process.
Okay, so if you were to bring that all into a headline, you'd be surprised actually. 220 characters is longer than it used to be. It used to be 120, so we've got a whole 100 characters extra. So if you were to bring that into a single headline, I would want to be able to see who you're offering it to.
No, what I'm saying is that I wouldn't say much more. I think that I would just keep it right at I provide reliable leadership experience, and then, you know, just stop, because I think all of the other stuff is just too much information. I want people to be curious to accept my, whether it's a LinkedIn connection or an email or something, that when they go to my profile, that I want them to scroll farther down, let's say. So to be curious. And I think sometimes if you give too much information in the headline, that it's potentially, they're like, okay, yeah, I don't need that, right? Whereas if you just say I provide reliable leadership advice, you know, for executive search, then I would like to hope that that's making some people curious. Maybe I'm wrong. If anybody has a thought that they would like to share, like, that's not enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to kind of go back to basics, if you don't somehow describe who you're talking to, people are going to scroll past rather than be curious. People don't have time for curious unless what you say grabs them and makes them think, oh, that's me, I need to hear this. You know, I feel like you're going to miss the opportunity you're talking about. So your headline really is the teaser, and I would highly recommend you use every character you can in your headline. But even so, you don't have to, if what you're saying is you think people are turned off by the fact that you're in executive search or recruitment kind of, if you're feeling that's turning people off, is that what you're saying, that you purposely don't want to say that because you think people will, you know, a lot?
No, I don't mind saying executive search. I don't want to say headhunting. Right?
Okay.
I don't want to say that. So, you know,
so
who I'm talking to is corporate leaders, whether that's in a particular sector or within HR. It doesn't matter to me, because it could be a CMO who needs a vice president in their team, or it could be a CEO that needs a CMO, or a COO or a CTO, whatever it might be. So, but the kinds of leaders that we would be talking to is so broad that I don't have a specific niche that I can talk to.
Okay, so but what you do know is they're corporate leaders.
Yes.
So if you say providing corporate leaders with reliable leadership advice as they grow their team, or to help them grow their team or refine their team or something like that. So because the thing is, leadership advice might be advice on how to get motivated. It might be like contracts or law, or it could be anything. So I feel as though you do need to somehow give them the sector.
That's why I'm saying executive search, because that kind of talks to what my role is in executive search.
So you can have a headline, and then I don't know if you noticed, but on mine at the end I've got a marketing strategist, facilitator of a mastermind. I mean, there's a million other things I could put there, but what we're talking about here is also we're bringing in keywords, right? So keywords, this is not dissimilar to search engine optimization, and we have to have the keywords in there that describe the job you do. So for example, even though you hate headhunter, do you hate the word recruitment, for example?
Yeah, no, because there's a delineation between executive search and recruitment.
Okay.
So it's, there's a top echelon, and I don't mean to be snobby about it. It's just
no, it's important to get it. Yeah.
I mean, companies will pay for executive search because it's a very important role. They might want it to be confidential. In a number of different reasons why they pay for a firm to do a particular search.
Yeah, exactly. It's often sensitive.
They can't find the person on their own, right?
So
they've done it and tried it before.
So it's like it's kind of like you're finding those diamond executives.
Sometimes,
who are hard to find and possibly not available.
People who aren't looking, right?
Yeah, exactly. The ones who aren't in theory available.
There's a level of schmoozing that needs to go on just to, talk to them about opportunities. And
I suppose what I would like to see is something a bit more descriptive than reliable, because you've clearly been doing this a long time. You're not just reliable. You're discreet, you're effective, you're sophisticated, you're subtle. Do you know what I mean? You have all those other skills that are essential for someone in your role.
Confidential.
Yeah.
Leanne, if I may, I've been an HR professional leader for a long time and used a very selective group of talent. This is Denise, sorry. A very selective group of talent acquisition firms, very narrow in the group that I would use because of exactly what you're describing, and making sure that it's really a trusted source, because they're not often trusted. And so I understand the dilemma that you're playing with here. What I look for in people, if this helps you in any way, is someone who is a matchmaker, someone who is able to translate the needs of the business and blend that with the personal dynamics that are critical for success.
Yes.
Lovely.
And unearth passive talent that may not be coming to me on their own.
Yeah, that's lovely. So the words you've got, that kind of unearthing, it is similar to mining, isn't it? It's like it's searching and mining, and those kinds of analogies are lovely. Thanks, Denise. That was really lovely.
Really great. Thank you for that.
How do some of those
You're
words
welcome.
feel, Leanne? How do you feel when you hear that trusted, discreet, matchmaker, unearth type words? Do any of those feel like they can fit?
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm just gonna switch us off for a minute and just like, let's just spend a few minutes. I want you to work on your own one. And if you can, maybe type it in so you can get a character count on it. See if we can actually get something that you feel ready with. If you've got one, by all means, type it in the chat for people. If you can cut and paste it in, that would be great. We can have a quick look and just see if we can offer any support to one another in terms of what we have there, how clear it is, how well it speaks to us, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to give a few minutes. I'm going to give like 4 or 5 minutes and then we'll come back.
Can you say it again, Bernie? I was distracted.
Just going back to all this stuff. So we've basically got a big mine of things. Now what I want you to do is actually try to condense it into 220 characters. So I want you to make sure you describe the transformation you're offering, to whom and how, if you can, so that people understand it. So you can use any of these suggestions I've given you as a sort of template, or you can throw them out and use your own. But remembering to put the, instead of just what you do, put what you're offering, right, at the start of your description, at the start of your word format. Cassie, hi, I see that you've just joined us, just so you know what we're up to. We've got part way through. You might be better off going back to the recording to have a look at some of this, but we're currently putting together our headlines. We're spending a few minutes working independently and just putting together a headline that we feel is a kind of working draft, if you like, which is 220 characters. It describes what you offer and to whom and how. Okay. So does anybody have one there ready to paste in the chat we can have a little look at?
Just a little bit more time.
No problem, Leanne, that's fine.
Oh.
No worries, Anne, that's fine.
I have the one that's already on my LinkedIn profile, and then I'm playing with it and changing a few words.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to put your current one on there, Natalie, and we'll have a look together?
Then I'm curious to see how.
Yeah, so career designer and personal branding strategist for passionate women managers who want to lead, thrive, and impact with elegance.
And what I realize is that those women that most often want to work with me are disconnected from their passion and from they don't feel it anymore, or they're not. So I was thinking maybe of taking passionate out, saying for female managers.
I'm wondering if that's the way forward, or if it's actually about, you know, have you lost connection with your passion? Right, so bringing something in here. See, this is a description of what you do. The first bit, career designer, personal branding strategist, that's a description of what you do. You're not leading with the transformation, and I would love to see you lead with something that is more catching to them. So see, this first part is about you. I would rather that part was at the end. And I like what you've got there at the end: career reinvention, evolution, and authentic leadership. I think career reinvention is a more powerful term than career designer. Personal branding strategist, I do think is different, and I like it. I think it
yeah, the career designer, I think I'm going to drop it.
Yeah, so I'd say vacate the word space for that. And then I'm just thinking passionate women managers, if they've lost connection with their passion, what could you say they are? Maybe they're unfulfilled, maybe they know they've got more to give. I'm wondering,
often they feel stuck, they feel that they're maybe not in the right place, and they often talk about lack of self-confidence, but that's another.
Yeah, this is such an interesting one. I mean, I have a constant ongoing debate with people in my profession, right? Because there's this business of whether you sell to pain or sell to gain.
Yeah.
So this business of selling to pain, people say it outsells gain 12 to 1. I don't know whether that's true. But for example, supposing we try that on for a minute, supposing we try yours on, Natalie, and say, you know, are you stuck, unfulfilled, and know that you've got more to give, or not reaching your potential? You know, and then you can say, I work with female women leaders or women managers, whatever you want to say. And I will help you to lead, thrive, and, you know, improve your impact. I like the word elegance, that's nice. But I feel as though it's not engaging enough. Yeah, so have another go and rearrange that emphasis more to be about them and the transformation, and then at the end you can bring the bit about just almost like your various job titles or your various hats, as it were.
Yeah, that's the other one I was working along with right now, saying professional certified coach. Somebody said the word coach is missing, and it's probably the main word people use to search.
Good point. Yeah.
So and what you just said about, you know, feeling stuck, I was wondering if that could be the first lines of I need to rewrite my about.
Right.
And wondering if part of that would more be in the about than in the. Yeah.
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
Not necessarily. I mean, the headline is like, it's like your opportunity, right? You get 3 seconds, that's it. So if you haven't said it, then they may not scroll to the about. So if you feel that your your universal qualifier for every client you ever work with is that they're stuck in their career, they've hit a plateau or a ceiling or whatever, then you've got to use that. Okay, brilliant. Thanks for this one.
Yeah, thank you, Denise.
Denise, let's see. So, you know how business leaders would rather do anything but deal with the people part of their business. Well, I take the chaos of people leadership and marry it with leadership goals to create deeper engagement and business increased results. Okay, and I don't know what you do. So how are you doing that, Denise? What is your job, if you like? Are you a manager?
I'm a consultant and coach.
You're a consultant and coach. Okay, so you're coaching business leaders?
Yes, or consulting with their around their organizational structure, design.
Okay. How many words have we got here? Is this the full 220 characters?
Honestly, I did not count.
Okay. So if you copy and paste it and do a word count on it in a Word document, you'll get the answer to that. But maybe at the end of it, maybe all you need at the end is literally leadership consultant or business coach or whatever term you'd like to use to describe yourself, as it were.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I probably would take out, that fixes some of the end that I don't like the way it looks. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, good. So
yes, thank you. What else about it would you shift?
I'm just looking at this. You take the chaos of people leadership, and I want to know exactly what it is you mean. What do you mean? What is it that they're struggling with? Is it that they're wasting time? Is it that they're annoyed? What is the chaos?
I think, okay, how do I describe that? The chaos is the people. It is literally, they want to focus on the business, and the leaders find a hard time attaching that when people are struggling, or they're struggling in a team, or there's dissent in their team, or confusion, anything that's like presenting a challenge, is typically centered around the people element of that. And it causes chaos. And I will come in and take these desperate pieces and parts, pull them together to find a path forward and quelling the chaos or the anxiety that it creates.
Right. Okay, good. So the chaos isn't the issue. The issue is that that's causing your client to feel stressed and anxious, because they know they should be focusing over here, but the people stuff is more urgent, it's more demanding, it requires their attention right here, right now, and actually they know there's a business over here that needs running. So I think if you can speak more to the anxiety, to the feeling that they feel as a result of the fact of having to manage the people, I think you might get there better. So when you say business leaders would rather do anything but deal with the people part of their business,
that is something that sorry, that was my French bulldog. He's beside me and he's very loud. That's something that most of the leaders would say to me. Like, I hate this part. I don't know how you do what you do.
Okay,
thank God
so
you're doing this.
I would wonder about changing that and just lead with business leaders. Would you rather do anything but deal with the people part of your business?
Okay, like that.
Yeah, because then immediately they know, oh, she's talking to me, and then they go, oh my God, she knows me. She knows I hate doing this bit, right? So immediately you've gone in with who and what the issue is. And then I suppose for me, I'm looking at this and feeling like I just need a bit more clarity as to how you do this. So what you're doing is helping them to create almost a strategic way through, a strategic plan to deal with the people side of stuff, so they can focus on what they're meant to be doing, or what they do best, or what they prefer to be doing, or whatever the thing is. Right, I'm aware that we've run out of time, and I'm hoping that that's of some use to you. See how to kind of pick it apart?
Yes.
Yeah,
very much so. Yes.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Leanne, I'm aware that we're out of time for you. I don't know if you've got something you're comfortable with. Do you want to paste it in? Or do you want to...
I have sort of something, but I can't really bring it
to
fruition.
what about if you want to ping it over to me on LinkedIn, you can just send it to me as a LinkedIn message, then I'm happy to just review and comment on it. For any of you that's the same, I'm happy to just review and comment. I feel like it's useful sometimes to have an extra pair of eyes on this stuff. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, I'd be very happy to come back and comment on this.
That went by really fast.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? The thing is, this work is very detailed, but it actually can make a huge difference. And when I changed my headline a while ago, I made changes to my headline and my profile, and within 2 weeks I'd immediately made like literally thousands of pounds from it, which astonished me, because I just thought, how can it possibly be that powerful? But you know, it's marketing, it is. There's lots of people out there, and all your market is out there. So it's just a case of speaking to them very clearly and getting this right. If any of you are interested, I will be running a half-day workshop, which basically does the whole profile. This is just such a tiny nub, but I will do the whole profile in a half-day workshop. Half day, I mean 3 hours. And that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So if that's of interest to you, I'm very happy to share the link if any of you would like to sign up. Any questions before we head off?
No, but thank you for that. That was really informational.
Informational.
Very helpful.
Oh, good. You're very welcome.
It was great. Thank you. And any of the ladies online, if you are interested in connecting, shoot me over a connection on LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely. Let's connect. That's a great idea. Thank you.
I just did, Denise, and I forgot, like, my mobile, it doesn't allow me to write a message to you. So I'm really sorry, because I really despise when people write, just connect with me and don't like try to.
All good. All good. No worries.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Hey, thank you so much,
You're
Bonnie.
welcome.
Appreciate
Lovely
it.
Yeah, thank you very much, ladies. It was great to share and to have inputs. Hey, Leanne, I like your first trial there. I think it's much more clear than what you have so far on your LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I think it's wow, much more wow.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right.
Bye, Leanne. Nice to
Bye. Thank you, Bonnie. See you all.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay.